So what happens when you go up against the crown as a Republican challenger to a Democrat who has been basically corrupt since he's been in his governor's seat? I'm talking about Jay Inslee in Washington, and we've been dealing with this horrible governor up here for a very long time, somebody who does not represent the people whatsoever. In fact, does everything in his power to hurt the people here, hurt our rights, and just hurt this economy in general. I want to talk, though, about Loren Culp, the police chief from Republic, Washington, who is going up against him and doing fairly well. Now, I want to talk about what has happened to Loren Culp. What happens when you go against the crown? So let's take a look at this article that I just dug up here. Loren Culp loses police job in Northeast Washington days before apparent loss in governor's race. This is Como News, the local news up here, and I want to forewarn you, journalism's dead. The person who wrote this is terrible at their job. Truly, truly terrible. There's a couple things in here will make you turn your head. We'll get to it. But Republic Washington, city council members in Republic Washington decided last week to contract with Ferry County for the town's law enforcement needs, putting gubernatorial challenger Loren Culp out of a job just a few days before his projected loss, or already calling it before they even counted, in the effort to unseat Governor Jay Inslee. Addressing his social media followers Wednesday from a car during a Facebook Live that he called a lunch with Loren Culp, this is the horrible writing in here, who has still not conceded in his race against Inslee, spoke about the council's decision. It's basically a horrible run-on sentence. Anyway, quote, the city council had a special meeting and they voted to defund the police department. This is Eastern Washington, a red area, not the blue area of the Western Washington. This is including my job, Culp said Wednesday. Incredible, right? Small-minded people playing political games. Let's see. According to the minutes of the council's specially called meeting, Republic Mayor Albert Kuntz and council members April Drennan, Rachel Syracuse, Alani Simone, and Jim Burnside were present for the session. The council voted 3-1 in favor of the county agreement. It was not immediately clear which council member opposed the move, so they can call him out and Black Lives Matter can come burn his house down, or what prompted the decision by the town to hire the county to provide its policing services. Culp said he's worked as a police officer for 10 years in the city, which has slightly more than 1,000 residents in Ferry County. He said he took a leave of absence in September to concentrate on his campaign and was told right before the election about the council's decision to defund the police department. Not even a letter of thank you, not a plaque for 10 years of service, Culp said. They just voted to defund the police department, and away with that went my job. He said he was not told about the decision by a call or letter, and it was not clear how Culp learned about the council's decision. This is some screwed up stuff, folks. You're losing your job for going up against the high guard. This man had the balls to come out there, stand up on a limb, and just go out on a limb and really put himself out there for the people of Washington. He held these great rallies up here. He promised small government. He was going to do everything that Inslee should do and doesn't do. Instead, Inslee caters to crackheads, meth heads. We're a couple steps away from doing what Portland just did, basically legalizing all drugs so this can become a haven to homeless vagrants and your kids can step on needles on their way to school. Speaking of school and some other things like that, let's talk about the election results for a second here. 2020 Washington election results. Inslee wins third term. Sex ed measure passes. This is also Como News. Let's read this for a second. Out of Olympia, Washington, Democratic Governor Jay Inslee has become the first incumbent elected to a third term in Washington state in more than 40 years, beating Republican challenger Loren Culp. Inslee, who briefly ran for president last year, has been a frequent critic of Republican President Donald Trump, especially his handling of the coronavirus pandemic. Now, we can skip this for a second here and go over to Governor Jay Inslee's Twitter here. He is not a silent party. We can look just from 4 hours ago. From Governor Jay Inslee, his tweet, quote, "We need more voices to stand up and protect American democracy. I call on every elected official in Washington, including all Republican leaders, to condemn the threats being made by the president. Too many people have been too silent on this president's behavior for too long." So he basically wants us to condemn the fact that we see cheating, which there's rampant cheating all over, and we'll talk about that in another clip. But we see this cheating. The president wants recounts. The president is going to have legal teams go into these areas. He already has them in there. And we need to ensure the integrity of this election. We have to. And we can just keep going down. Look, it looks like Washingtonians voted to send more women and people of color to our state legislature. Representation matters, and I look forward to working with each of them to improve our great state. Now, that sounds like an awesome statement, and we want more women and people of color and diversity, as long as everybody is well qualified for the job. But Governor Jay Inslee doesn't mean that. He's not talking about that. He doesn't want a fair balance for anybody. And if you know who this governor is, trust me, he would want everybody staying home anyway. We can go down and just find even more stuff. Let's see. Holding a media thing, the Paris Agreement. He's all about climate change, just like Gavin Newsom and all these other idiots. Well, anyway, there's plenty of stuff he always has on here, which is just talking crap about the right. He's not for any type of unification or bipartisanship. This is a one-sided guy, just like everybody else on that party. But let's keep reading down this for a second. Inslee was chasing a third term, something in the state that hasn't seen an incumbent governor do since Dan Evans was elected in his third term in 1972. The first returns Tuesday night had Inslee beating Culp 59 to 41%, a vote that he believes is a mandate. There's that word again, mandate. Let me take a sip here. I'm a little thirsty. Don't worry. There's no sugar in that. It's just water and a little bit of that sugar-free flavor. Trying to lose a little weight here. Let's talk about this mandate. Quote, "We have a mandate tonight to fight climate change, to take action against climate change," Inslee said. "We have a mandate tonight to fight the COVID pandemic based on the scientific principles that we embrace. And we intend to act on that mandate because Washingtonians deserve no less. I'm committed to that," which we would like, I don't know, less taxes on everything, to leave maybe some of our small businesses alone and stop attacking our children with rhetoric and sex ed training that we really don't want. We would like a choice in that maybe, but instead, this governor has some higher purpose to apparently save the whales and the panda bears and the polar bears and everything else. Despite the Associated Press calling the race for Inslee, Culp told hundreds of supporters at a rally Tuesday night in Tenino that he was not conceding the race and was hoping for a red wave of votes to pour in from the rural counties. Other statewide races we won't be talking about. In another video, I'm going to talk about the sex ed bill that's going on, but I really wanted to touch upon this. We have a horrible governor up here. I've never met anybody that likes this governor. Anybody. Never met anybody. I've talked to tons of people, especially in what I do, and nobody likes him. So where are these votes coming from? He's broken every promise. He's destroyed the budget, misspent all our money, and he goes, "Please, let me have another chance." And then all of the people in West Seattle apparently vote him back in. So I don't know what's up, but what I do know is that when you go against the Democrat Party and the Democrat Party wins somewhere, they are not above destroying you, taking your job, taking your livelihood, destroying your family, your reputation. They're not above doing anything in the negative that would negatively affect you. They don't seem to have a conscience. They don't. So I want you guys to think about that. And I'm going to take a look across some other states and see if this is going on anywhere else. But a couple nights ago, a good man, a police chief, He raced against this horrible Democrat governor in a horribly blue Democrat state, Northwest Washington up here. And he lost his job. He lost his reputation. He's been dogged down, and who knows what will happen to him now. So if you liked what you saw here, I just want to ask you to please hit the subscribe button. Hit the little notification bell, follow along. I'm going to do a lot more clips, but I also do a podcast every Monday, the American Reveille podcast, and we're looking to expand that. We're getting into more video, and we're going to have a lot of fun things coming, a lot more articles. We're going to scale up the business here, and we're really going to start becoming a major voice for the right, the conservative Republican side of things. So stay tuned, folks.